Hey everyone, it's the Sith Justice Warriors coming at you with another weekly podcast talking about entertainment, games, movies, everything under the Twin Suns of Tatooine. I'm here with Princess Lumpia.
Hey guys.
Hey. So I think we're going to do a twofer in terms of topics, in terms of subjects. So let me kick it off with some MCU movie news with Lumpia. Take it away.
Yeah, there's just been a roundup, and I wanted to just talk about it briefly. We know that the movie season has almost come and passed, and we really have not had much to talk about because of a lot of delays, a lot of things getting pushed out, the movie theater chains really feeling the pinch of COVID due to a lot of social distancing restrictions. But I did want to bring up there was news because things are ramping up again. Things are picking up. I know on the Witcher front, they just started shooting the second season, so there was some news about that coming out. From a Marvel perspective, there's been just a couple things swirling around. Number one, I'm not surprised that Haley Steinfeld, it was reported on comicbookmovie.com. She's been reported to be playing Kate Bishop in the Disney series for Hawkeye. I'm not surprised because she kind of fits the profile of Kate Bishop. So it'll be interesting to see where they take this character. Everyone was saying, oh, it's going to be his daughter. It's going to be his daughter. It's not. So that's good. The other piece of movie news, and I wish Sirius was here, but there's talk about the Marvel Illuminati movie, which actually is quite interesting to me because if you're not familiar with Marvel's Illuminati, it actually consists of several key characters from the Marvel universe that are tasked with protecting the Infinity Stones. Each of them has one. They're tasked to, basically protect it so that we don't get another Thanos thing going on. And of note, and again, this list changes, as with the Marvel world sometimes, but originally the Illuminati was Tony Stark, Professor Xavier, Namor, as well as Doctor Strange and Mr. Fantastic. More recently, Black Panther and Black Bolt from the Inhumans were also added to that list. So it's quite interesting. And I backtrack, not more recently, but they've always been Black Bolt, and I think Black Panther was the newer ad. But anyway, I digress. Basically they've been tested to, guard these Infinity Stones. And what's interesting is that it would be a good segue if this is what Phase 4 is set up, Phase 5 is set up to do, introduce, which is what I thought, we would introduce the Inhumans, we would bring in the Fantastic Four and the X-Men, and then add them up together to the total Marvel universe. But I'm not sure what the plans are, but it's always been something in the works with Kevin Feige. So, just something of note to think about. And then just the last thing, I think there was some, on CBR.com, there was there was a trailer plot release date for Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. So again, as we start to ramp up production on a couple things and we get back to some sort of quasi-normalcy, basically, they've announced a lot of different things around this movie. As we know before, when we talked about it, Scott Derrickson, who was originally brought on to do the sequel, departed in January due to creative differences. They brought in Sam Raimi. We all know him from Spider-Man. So it'll be quite interesting to see his take on it. And then, as we all know, Chiwetel Ejiofor is back. Bruce Campbell will have probably a little role. Doctor Strange will be joined by Scarlet Witch as well as Wong. So it'll be interesting to see. They've penned the release date, which was originally 2021, to push back to 2022. So it's March 25th, 2022. And so we'll see if things go the way it's going to go. It'll be quite interesting. So those were all the tidbits that I've been hearing around. Anything there of interest spark any thoughts for you, Fan?
We all knew Kate Bishop Hawkeye was going to take over. It's part of the initiative for, what is it called? A-Force? Is that the comic book line?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, she has been established as like the successor of Hawkeye. So, in all seriousness, it's fine. I just hope Jeremy Renner gets some good screen time, because I think Jeremy Renner's Hawkeye really got the shaft throughout the entire MCU run. We all thought we were going to have a Hawkeye movie, and instead all we get is a TV series where Hawkeye passes on the mantle, which is a shame, but I guess it's the only thing available, given Disney is quite frankly afraid of the baggage that can happen, given that Jeremy Renner's going through a pretty contested divorce, so to speak, and some allegations are being brought out there. That kind of fell by the wayside. That said, from a Star Wars standpoint, it seems like the choice of producers on that end, they don't have problems, but I'll leave it at that. Back to Doctor Strange, though, I think Doctor Strange, the multiverse of madness, will be an interesting one, because I think in that CBR article, Kevin Feige said it will be the scariest MCU movie, and then he kind of backtracked and said, actually, it's a big MCU film with scary sequences in it. So I don't really know if that's damage control, thinking that we'd have a little bit of horror in this movie or not. We get some, what was that thing called? Shumagorath?
Oh, Shumagorath, yeah, from Marvel vs. Capcom, the big eyeball.
Yeah, that thing, the starfish octopus thing. I mean, that would be cool, right? If that was like a horror-ish type of thing. But I think it'll be cool to see the different universes. We're probably going to see, Peggy Carter as Captain. Was she Captain Britain when she was in that universe? Because she got the super soldier serum.
Could be.
I wanted to say Captain Britain, but Captain Britain is taken by another person, right?
Yeah, Betsy Braddock's brother, I think.
Yeah. I mean, you could see that. You could see Miles Morales. I mean, that's a perfect way to just have Doctor Strange suddenly go to New York, and instead of it being Peter Parker, it would be the Miles Morales. You could have a Peter Parker with blonde hair dying in front of Doctor Strange, and you see Miles Morales taking up the mantle. I know Miles Morales has a really big fan base, so that's an example. I'd love to see Tobey Maguire come back. It is Sam Raimi. So that's another thing that, it could be their test water to see how people react in the movies to female Captain America. You could see Riri Williams, an Iron Man. You could see these type of things. They'll use it to test drive the audience reaction, given that there's been a push to have the movies and comic books align. Bruce Campbell being rumored to be there, I'm already going to call this movie of the year. If he has a legit role, not like a cameo, I'm going to say this is going to be a movie of the year.
Well, he always has it. He had a cameo in Spider-Man 3. He was like the guy, the maitre d', who was trying to help him set up the marriage proposal. Anyway.
Well, wait. What if he's the connection between him and the Tobey Maguire?
Oh my God! Oh my God! Stop.
And let's be clear. I think this panel, including Sirius, we do like or love Tom Holland's Spider-Man, Peter Parker. I just had this strange appreciation that Tobey Maguire was actually the best Peter Parker.
No, you know what? I said it before. I was a Tobey Maguire hater, not necessarily a hater. I think that's a strong word, but
It wasn't your cup of tea at the time.
yeah, and I rewatched it, and like I said to you, I called you up after I watched Spider-Man, the one with Mysterio, Away from Home, and I said I miss Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man. There was something they in the whole adultness of Peter Parker, even though he was still a young, like he was just out of college. This was his job, like, and then to the millennial, I call Tom Holland, and I love Tom Holland's millennial Spider-Man, but it truly is millennial Spider-Man, and it's like it doesn't sing to me anymore because I'm not a millennial, you know. So anyway, I digress.
Yeah. No, I think this is actually going to be one of the better movies in Phase 4, given that there's a lot of reasons for me to be a bit nervous. Again, the initiative to make the comics align with the movies. I'm just thinking and hoping that this pandemic that's costing these companies a lot of money is going to make them think twice and execute on good stories as opposed to making messages, so to speak. So let's see. I think Doctor Strange, especially Benedict Cumberbatch, he's not going to waste his time on a script where it's bad. So I'm gonna and Sam Raimi. So I'm very hopeful about this. We'll have to see, but it's going to be a long time before we get to see anything. And then the last one, the Illuminati one. Please don't shadow ban us, YouTube, for saying the Illuminati, but the Marvel Illuminati comic run or whatever. This is interesting because you've not established Professor Xavier. You killed Tony Stark. Black Bolt is Black Bolt in the MCU in terms of that TV series, the Inhumans TV series?
Well, I think like ABC is kind of wanting to forget about it. And to be honest, it could have been so much better, but it was like they were rushing for no reason. Like, it's sad.
Kamala Khan is definitely in the MCU, so there are Inhumans, right? So I feel there's a lot of people like Namor. I actually don't even think they have Namor's rights, do they?
I thought Namor belongs to like Paramount or something random.
Yeah, they're in that like it's like Hulk, where it's in this weird hell that like Iron Man really can't have its own movie, but you could put Iron Man in an MCU movie with other people, and that's sort of how they get around it. If you wanted Iron Man 4, it's actually the Civil War, because you're not allowed to have Tony Stark and Iron Man unless it's Paramount, and they're happy. Paramount or Universal, they're happy to sit on it and let Marvel have to kind of like Hulk. You can't ever have a Hulk movie because they're just sitting on it and they're saying just mix them with other people and all that stuff, which is fine. But the tricky part about this is I don't know how you do even if you do a show, how do you do it when you've not established the characters? Because in my mind, this is the perfect opportunity to say, well, we didn't introduce these characters like Professor Xavier, so how about we change them up and say, how about make it Brie Larson's Carol Danvers holding one, and well, She-Hulk's going to be having her own TV show to introduce herself, but well, who else? Scarlet Witch can hold another stone, and you know. Again, there's all these rumors about the X-Men changing Magneto and Professor Xavier away from what they were originally represented, and one must ask, do we want to see what this Disney would do?
Yeah.
And I hope again that this time has given folks time to pause and reflect and realize that you don't have the ability to just throw money out there, because people are going to be selective with their wallets. And it's been a while since we've had an MCU movie, I think, too, and I'm not sure, and I'm going to throw this out to you, Lumpia. Do you feel that the normies, right? Are they? Do they feel like there's closure with the MCU and it's kind of over?
I think so, to be honest.
Like, let's think about the upcoming ones, the Black Widow, and then
That's a past, like it's in the past. So
it's tricky. That's a tricky one to test the barometer because you get the benefit of it's in the past, like you say. It's Scarlett Johansson, so it's a legacy character, a legacy actor, and the tricky part of all of this is that how do you gauge if the MCU is still strong? We had the Phase 4 where we got Blade. That was cool.
Mhm.
And what was other Thor, Love and Thunder? Let's be real, they're not watching the fans, the normie fans, particularly the ladies. They're not going there to see Jane Foster Thor.
No, exactly. That's why I was like, I'm concerned because if Hemsworth is not in it for at least 80% of the movie, I think people will be really upset.
And I think the other thing too is that like what the benefit of the MCU movies had is that the PG-13 rating allowed kids to come through.
Mm-hmm.
If there are certain messages that are displayed, parents may intervene unless they just go through Disney Plus. Again, I don't have a problem with it as long as it doesn't affect the actual story and quality of the movie. But it's if I'm curious to see how risk averse and Marvel will be, given that this is a time where people are going to watch what they spend.
Yeah.
So I will hold my thoughts in terms of get more data, but I hope the MCU can live on past Downey Jr., Chris Evans. Really, those two really, if you think about it, carried. I mean, my not. Oh, and what's his name? Not Hemsworth. Who plays Loki? Gosh darn it.
Oh gosh, Tom Hiddleston.
Hiddleston. Like he's still around, but my point is without Downey and without Evans, those are people that really carried it, and people forget how important those two were in the whole crux of the execution and delivery of the MCU.
Yeah.
So it's like your favorite team letting go their aging superstar. They have to show that their rookies can shine. So enough sports, right? That's my thoughts. Any other fun stuff in the movie world? Because it's funny, we were talking about how we passed by a Regal theater, and we were just kind of depressed that how do you revive the movie industry, right? Just seeing this massive building empty and shut, and I don't see how, given what we still don't know about the world in terms of pandemics and things like that, I don't even know how people will want to even go out anymore. I think we've all been scared into staying indoors.
Yeah.
Which, rightful or wrong, people have their opinion, but it's whenever the world wants to open up, I think the scars have been made. Scars have been dealt on that one.
Exactly.
Yep. I digress. So I think it's my turn, and I will flip it over to another part of the entertainment industry, which is the gaming industry, which people forget. It makes a lot of money. I think it was a weird statistic where I have to double check. I thought I saw a statistic where gaming actually made more money than I. But anyway, our favorite company, Microsoft. Well, it's actually funny because I think they get a lot of press, but it's always feels like it's for strange reasons. So let's start with a couple of headlines. So let's start with the big Halo game, right? Coming up, Halo Infinite. Now we can get past the Craig memes and talk about their announcement that they have confirmed the rumor that Halo Infinite's multiplayer mode is free to play and will support 120 frames per second on the Xbox Series X. So the best way to describe it, Lumpia, is like Warzone in Call of Duty, where you don't have to buy Call of Duty. You could download Warzone and play it for free, and then you buy all these multi battle passes and things like that, and you just play the living crap out of this game.
Nice.
The rumor about the multiplayer is it's going to have a battle royale. I think it's perfect because the battle royale would make so much sense with Halo, given that in the universe, there's a specific set of Marines called the orbital drop orbital drop ODST orbital drop shock troops, whatever. Gosh, I'm bad. Yeah, so they basically just drop down from space, crash land into the planet, and just wreck hell. They often also die too because they have the high risk, high reward missions. And so,
Jeez.
what do you? I think that is fascinating. That Halo is going to take the risk of the free multiplayer, trying to collect as much of a user base as possible, trying to get that. I don't want to call it microtransactions, but I guess that battle pass, season pass thing. Maybe you could buy cosmetics. It's interesting, and then the 120 frames per second makes me filled with joy. Also, news with Microsoft is that the Game Pass is not going to be called Xbox Game Pass anymore, but rather they're testing out a logo just to say basically Game Pass with the Xbox logo, but it just says Game Pass, which kind of insinuates that Game Pass is not just about Xbox. I mean, we know it's also on PC, but I think it's really the platform itself. And well, yeah, we're going to get into that after some of the. Actually, let me pause, Lumpia, with Halo and this Game Pass thing. What do you think?
I am really happy about it. This whole 120 frames per second thing. I hope we talked about it before. They have to have the infrastructure to keep it up, which is fine. Because if the network is down, and that just leaves a sour taste in everyone's mind. But other than that, I'm looking forward to it. I'm just keeping my reservations because, like I said before, I was not a Halo person, but like I'm very excited about this. And I think it's really funny because I brought it up on our last podcast. You know, we were talking about how we're moving towards this whole like Destiny 2 sort of platform where you have a game that keeps giving, and it's not just downloadable content, it's seasons. It's this whole concept of seasons. It's the same game, but like you're playing seasons, you're playing events. So that game, I know they're gonna do Destiny 3 eventually, but it's always Destiny. Like
I don't think they're going to do Destiny 3.
I mean, if they don't, I'd be happy because you know why? The seasons, the passes, that's what I want. I want the same game that I have invested a lot of time in to carry over and allow me to play as the character that I created, that I feel a connection with.
Well,
So,
yeah, so let me pause.
yeah.
I just want you to know that you came into Destiny 2 at the right time because there was a lot of people that put the hours we put in for Destiny 1. And when they went to Destiny 2, all of their loot was gone. The only thing that carried over was their class and the character customization. Could you imagine that? Like, you really make a good point about you just want your stuff to carry over.
Yeah.
Can you imagine that? All the hours you put into getting all the exotics and all the legendaries, and it blew up because Gary came in and blew shit up.
Man.
But sorry, I just wanted you to understand that a lot of people when they went to Destiny 2 were pissed.
I would be. I think, remember we were talking about Dragon Age and how I spent so much time on my character in the first Dragon Age, and the second one I had to start over. And in the third one, even then, like
it was a different character. Yeah.
I mean, I get it, but it would have been nice to have the person that I had.
That's why Mass Effect 1 through 3 worked. It was your shepherd. Nothing changed about your shepherd. It was your
You
shepherd.
always are, yeah. So with Halo, if I'm my character, let it be. Like, that's all that's all I want to be, and that's what I will be. And I'm excited to explore the worlds of Halo and everything. Like I said, I know enough about Halo to know what it is and everything like that. But what I have not done is played it because it just was not something I would have normally played. Not saying shooter games are. It's not that. There's something about a game like Destiny.
Oh yeah, you hate. I just want to say on record, you hated first person shooters.
Yeah, I
I
do.
don't know why. Like I just let you try it, and you're just like bam, like a drug. We haven't. We need to pick up because with the game
Yeah.
Destiny because it's a lot of the season has passed, but that's to be thing. But back to your point about the platform, right?
Mm-hmm.
We talked about it, right? It's that showcase, the July game showcase was really about Game Pass, and really we have to accept that it's not. And I'm just paraphrasing what you said. This is not about the Series X. We are done consoles. We're just talking about platforms, and
Mm-hmm.
for them to just say Game Pass, like, wait, does that reinforce your prior point that we're not trying to sell you the Series X or the Lockhart? We're trying to just sell you Game Pass.
Exactly. I 100%. That article also confirmed a lot for me because I felt like I could see the writing on the wall that everything that they're doing from here on out is to support, the Game Pass, to support this new idea that, what this means for a lot of things is going to be interesting. Long gone are, I mean, there are still people like Sirius is one of them where he'll wait in line for the game, to come out, the very first day. What game was it? What was the last game you waited for? Out, out, and
Wait, midnight launch? I think the last midnight launch was Resident Evil 5 for
yeah,
me.
see, so like, I can't even remember mine. So that being said, I say this because it's the truth. Why, when I can just get it, in this day and age of like, I want it and I want it conveniently. That's what it is, and I mean, why not? And with Game Pass, like I'm not trying to sell it. I don't work for them. I just love the concept. I love the forward thinking because I think this was in the works for a while. It just wasn't the right time.
I
Is
think
now the right time? I think it is.
I think this was in the works when Xbox One got their butt handed to them um, by Sony when PS4. And what ended up happening was you went from during that time you went from Ballmer to Satya Nadella from a CEO standpoint, and taking away from the games, right? People forget Microsoft Office was locked to PC Windows. When
Mm-hmm.
Satya, his mindset was instead of having the customers come to the PC or Windows, we'll go to them. And so the people who went through Mac now have access to Office, and I think they have access to the whole Office 365, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, with that said, I think the story, the back channel stories that I've listened to was that Satya Nadella thought that this was a waste of money, Xbox, and when Phil Spencer took over, he said, "This is the user base. This is how many." Well, I think he said there's a billion game. Like there's some weird statistic here. There's a billion gamers out there in the world, and then of this we have this amount of people on Xbox Live. This is how much we make. If we go with your strategy of taking the games to the customer, which is why you saw Xbox games on PC now, right?
Mm-hmm.
It such as like, oh, we can make a lot of money and we can promote our Azure servers, which is all about the cloud and all that stuff. And you know what? It, it's a big shock to a lot of the traditional console people, and I understand that. I just accepted that this is probably going to be the new direction in order for Microsoft Xbox to survive. Because at the end of the day, if they sell a Series X, let's say it's $500, they'll probably make a maximum of $50 of profit max. Most of the times they'll either lose money or they'll break even. And if your model is to lock people on a continual cycle, like PlayStation, eventually that kind of restricts the potential your games can earn, right? So you saw with Sony, they tested it out with Horizon Zero Dawn.
Mm-hmm.
Never have you seen PlayStation ever put their exclusives on PC.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of the trending games on Steam that I've seen. They've also had Death Stranding, another PlayStation exclusive on PC. I I wish Sony would just hurry up with that, but I don't think Sony. I think Sony realized a bit too late, which is why they ended up deciding to actually partner with Microsoft to expand their cloud server offerings with using Azure. And I find that so fascinating because I felt Sony should have kind of seen it, but I think this generation with PlayStation 5, they're going to ride it out, but slowly they're going to start going to the PC space. And believe me, I find it fascinating that the games a lot of the people make fun of, like Grounded, Master Chief Collection, Sea of Thieves, and the Microsoft Flight Simulator. Those are four of those games. Those four games are in the top 7 of Steam right now in terms of sellers.
Yeah.
So Grounded is not for me, but I find it fascinating that the PC market is very hungry for these games that a lot of people on podcasts and things like that like to make fun of.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, I digress. But yeah, whether we like it or not, it's kind of like how we used to watch movies. We used to watch movies going to Blockbuster. Now Netflix came along and it's a new way of viewing it. It's going to end up being the standard. So it's up to Microsoft to provide the games and the content and keep people on that content, because for $15 a month, I mean, it's great, but you got to keep me interested to get me to keep paying $15 a month.
Exactly. And I just like it because, I mean, there's a nostalgia to going and buying and having a physical copy, but as you get older, you're like, I only want physical copies of the games that I really love. The digital is convenient. It, takes up less space. The fact that I can go on PC or Xbox is great for the people that, go between both. I'm like I said, I appreciate where they're going with it. I think Sony's probably, in a wait and see mode. I do think that there are moments when I do think that Sony realizes they have to do something with their online platform. I'm not saying it's the worst. I'm just saying it's not quite there yet. But again, they only have their online platform. What I will say, I think you brought it up, and it was a really good point, is that Xbox doesn't have the exclusives before. Like, they didn't have all these launch exclusives like that PlayStation has or makes you think they have. But now with this whole concept of Game Pass, I think that changes a lot. And it truly means, like, if you have Game Pass, you have access to this stuff. And if you never were going to buy it, but you could at least try it. So there's some trial and repeat that could happen there. If you simply have Game Pass, and you could reach more people who would have never gone to a store and picked it up and taken a chance on it because they didn't think it was their type of game. So, I think it's going to be good. It's not going to be perfect, but I think it all comes down to execution and, like you said, the quality of what they bring. And we talked about what they talked about in their YouTube, thing, their whole presentation. Some of the titles were like, some of them we were like, oh, I'm glad they fleshed that out. So if it's still a mixed bag, that's going to be a problem. I think they've got to solve that. Less of the backyard game, more of the more of the one like medium, like more of the ones that like really truly leverage the developers that they're bringing in. And I think we were going to talk about that too. The more they acquire, the more developers they bring on board with Microsoft, the better it will be, the better the content will be. So I think there's just more to look forward to. That's all.
As long as we're stuck indoors, right? We've
Exactly.
got movies to watch digitally, and we've got video games to play and connect with our friends if we so play with video games. I think it's a good point to wrap it up there. So if you like what we do, like the content, please like, comment, and subscribe. If you want to be notified of our content, hit the bell icon to be notified. Also, please reach out to us at Justice Sith, which is our Twitter handle. We will also provide a podcast version on major platforms like Spotify, Google Podcasts, etc. At a later time. So from there on, everyone, please stay safe, and we'll see you on the Sith side.
Bye.